Right, good morning, Yorkshire Classic Cars Limited fans. If I look a little perturbed, that's because this is the fifth attempt of doing this video. Having a few microphone problems, so if it starts crackle-lacking halfway through, I'm so sorry. They do crackle. I have no idea why. I assume it's metal stuck to the magnet from when I'm angle grinding and welding. However, it usually passes within about 30 seconds a minute, so just fast forward a little bit, you'll be fine. So, major update on the Capri. Bit of important news. I'll start with a rundown of where I am with the old workshop and why I've been working on the Capri. This is partly to explain for the customers as well, but there you go. The Facel Vega over there is done. I've just got the electric windows switches to put back in and the bonnet to put back on, and then it needs to go for a test drive. But the roads are absolutely filthy. We've had frost and rain and just frost and ice and fog. And honest to God, my car looks disgusting. And I don't particularly want to drive filth and muck all under that car. So hopefully I'm going to take that tomorrow now the roads have dried out a little bit. As I say, I need a mate to come down and just help me put the bonnet on because it's incredibly heavy and difficult to put on your own. I would imagine. I'm not going to try because I don't want to damage it. But other than that, that's ready to go. Check the gearbox, top up the gearbox oil and take it for a drive. I mean, literally an hour's work. The X19 failed its MOT on a brake pipe. That's why you should have your cars MOT'd. I thought it was okay. The MOT tester saw some corrosion back hidden behind where I couldn't see very well. And to be fair to him, when I took the pipe out, it broke in half. So he was correct to pick it up, and I'm glad he did. I couldn't get much brake on that corner, whether it was already leaking or weeping or what, I don't know. I couldn't see any leaks. But either way, I've had to order some new fittings, which are an oddball thread. So I've had to order them off the interweb, and it takes ages for them to arrive. Although they did come yesterday evening. So I'm doing that today, and I'm slightly procrastinating by doing this. So I've had a couple of days on the Capri. I can't start on the Rover. I should have started on the Rover and the purple stag by now, the maroon stag. However, and this is a big however, I need to set them out on the floor, so they're flat. I need the weight on the suspension, blah, 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 to do the sills. And I can't do that while I've got other cars around the place and needing to be moved in and out. If I set up the Rover here, I'm stuck till it's done, which means that's here for another couple of weeks and blah, blah, blah. So that's the upshot of why I've been able to spend a couple of days. And I'm partly leaving my guilt with it, but I've spent a couple of days on the Capri. So the Capri has been going and going and going. Obviously, I've been on with it for 12 years. You haven't seen it, but I have been. I did promise myself I'd have it running by Christmas, but of course, jobs have run on. Jobs have changed, so therefore they became more important than doing that. I was in all over Christmas working on the Facel Vega because, well, many reasons. Actually, I had to come in and do that, and that's why the Capri went on the wayside. So basically, the upshot of this video is I've been accepted for Street Weekend 2025. Now, that may mean the square root of nothing to you. If it doesn't, have a look on Facebook, Street Weekend 2025. If you are not on Facebook, have a look at the Santapod website. But basically, Street Weekend is a drag and drive event. So if you've ever seen something like the Hot Rod Drags in America or Sick Week in America, Sick the Mag does one. Tom Bailey, I think he's called, the guy. Can't remember his name. Sorry, that's not his. He's quite famous on YouTube, but I'm forgetful. So either way, if you've ever seen Cletus McFarlane, any of them, they all do these drag and drive events. So what they do is they do a set route. You have to do check-ins along the route to make sure you're not cheating. People do cheat. Don't know why, because you don't really win if you cheat. But anyway, and then you have to do a drag event and drive and get your best elapsed time, ET. And then you drive to the next place and the next place. And usually in America, it's over 2,000 to 4,000 miles, something like that. But of course, they have more drag strips in America. We're restricted to Santapod as probably one of the main, it's like an international quality drag strip. And Melbourne Raceway, that was York Raceway over in Melbourne near York, obviously. That's an 8th mile track, and it's still under development. So it's going to become a semi-prep track. It's always been an unprep track. It's a great track, very good feeling when you're there. It's a very family-orientated place. And it's good. It's not to the massive standards that Santapod is yet, but that said, Santapod's been there a lot longer. So, anyway, I digress. It's a good track, but they're the two main tracks in the country now. So you can't have a drag and drive back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. However, you start at Santa Pod, you sleep over, you do a quarter mile, you get in your car, you drive down to Melbourne, you do the drag strip, or sleep over, do the drag strip, and then drive back to Santa Pod with checkpoints along the way. Now, I wanted to do this last year. I entered. I was put on the waiting list. I didn't get in. So I put myself on the reserve list. I was late to enter, to be fair. Maybe a little bit unrealistic, but the car wasn't quite finished. But I thought, you know, if I get in, I can concentrate on the engine and the running gear. If the doors aren't painted, it's not the end of the world, you know. I'd rather them be painted, but blah, blah, blah. So anyway, I had some family things going on, so I was out of work for a couple of months, and I couldn't have done it anyway. I did actually get accepted off the reserve list. And if Max Frost is watching this, I apologise for not replying to you, but obviously I had things going on and I couldn't have done it anyway. They were significantly more important. So either way, this year I've entered again, and I'm in. So I've managed to get in for Street Weekend, and I've paid. So I have booked it, and the car is booked in. So the upshot of that is I need the damn thing finished, and I am so busy. It's going to be a nightmare because I've only got a Saturday morning every week. Most weeks, some Saturday mornings I do have to take off. And evenings. And when you get to my age, evenings are a lot more difficult than when you're 30. Trust me on that. So I've been doing a little bit on the Capri. And I'll start off with an apology. Two apologies, actually. The first one is the mess. My workshop looks a little bit like a bomb's gone off in it. And that's because when it gets to about 7:30 on the night, you just want to go home. You don't want to tidy up. So stuff is left everywhere, and the car is just shoved back so I can get in the passenger door. The other apology is I was doing a Mega Squirt wiring guide series of videos. Well, I've gone by that. I've just wired it up. It's pretty easy, and I'm going to do a video explaining why I've done that and what's occurred, and anything you need to keep an eye out for. But the upshot is I've just done it. Whether it all works or not is a different matter, but it is all wired up basically, apart from I've decided to go with a wideband lambda sensor. I had a wideband lambda sensor. I knew I had one somewhere and I managed to find it. I replaced the one in the Innovate that I do my carburetor tuning with. However, it turned out that it was the wire that had a bad connection and not the wideband, so I retained it. Hopefully it'll still work. If it doesn't, I'll just buy another. They're only about 50 quid. And yeah, so I'm concentrating on getting the blooming thing running, really, because that is quite crucial to the whole event. As you know, the clutch is done. I've been faffing with the rocker covers. I'll try and put a picture in if I can work out how to do it. So I've been putting those ginormous breathers on there because Rovers like to breathe a little better than they do from the factory. They're AN-16 breathers. They're actually tank adapters, fuel tank adapters, but they screw in with a seal on each side, and I've used a little bit of Loctite and a little bit of sealant. And I need to make a baffle plate for that one. I have made one for that one. I did it last night, and now that is screwed on. The plenum is sat on top just because I wanted to connect the throttle position sensor to check that the laptop was talking to the ECU, which it is. I'm waiting for a top dead center finder because the later Rovers with this serpentine belt don't have a top dead center pointer on the flywheel because basically they're ECU controlled, and like modern cars, they don't really need one. So I'm going to make a pointer and a little mark in the front pulley there, but I need to find TDC very accurately. So what I'm going to do is, it's a dial gauge. It's coming from Poland, actually. It's a dial gauge with a pointer. And I'm going to try and use that, and hopefully that should be really super accurate. If it is, it is. If it isn't, it isn't. I'll work out how to do it some other way. But either way, it was quite easy to do, and I may need it again sometime. So it'll come in for the workshop. So once that's done, I can buckle all the front of the engine up. I've altered a bypass pipe there because I've done away with the heater. These are all little faffy 10-minute jobs. But you just kind of have to get on with them and get them done. I've modified the alternator bolt, screw, nut, whatever, stud. I put a UNF stud in, actually. That's a UNC bolt on that end. And I've narrowed that down and Loctited it on. This rocker cover is on. I've my plenum base on with the intake trumpets, and I've had a spacer made to go on that so that this will clear that. As you can see, it's still full of muck in there. That all needs cleaning out before it goes on. It's not ready to go on yet anyway, so that's why it's sat on top. So yeah, the engine's pretty close actually. I've ordered some pipes. The pipe is on the oil cooler takeoff there. I've ordered some rubber hose for that, or I'm about to order some rubber hose at dinner time, so that'll be on its way. So once that's done, then the rad is in and the oil system is in. I can fill it with oil and I can try starting it up. I assume there's a map on the ECU. I have absolutely no idea whatsoever. And I might just buy myself a nice new intercooler for the front and pipe all that in as well. The exhaust manifold gaskets need to go in. The exhaust is, one side of it isn't quite finished. I welded the top of it, the bottom of it, but not the top, so that needs to come off and be done. If I take you around there, switch the power on. Loving having an interior light, that's great. You can see the laptop there that I was using to see if it will talk to the ECU. I've looked at what's on the ECU, and quite honestly, it's like trying to learn Chinese without any idea. Try to work out what a Chinese symbol means without having a clue. You see the dash is all out. All that wiring there is for the ECU, pretty much. I've wired the relay that I'd connected to the switch to the fuel pump output on the ECU, so that will work through that. That relay controls the coil packs, the ECU, and the injectors. It's all earthed up. It's earthed back to the engine as it should be. That's a nitrous wire. Don't worry about that. That won't be connected up for this time. This is all the panel work that I've made for in the car. That's all ready just to go in once I'm there. And I had the battery out because when we started up the Facel Vega, the battery was absolutely dead as fried chicken. So we used that one. As luck would have it, it's still a good battery. So yeah, we're pretty much there on that. The back axle needs some work. The oil seal is leaking on this side and there's no brakes in there whatsoever. And I still haven't worked out a handbrake system, and it will need one because it's obviously going on the road. I've got a plan for that. It may or may not come to fruition, but I do have to dismantle this axle, which I'm absolutely dreading. So basically the upshot of that is once the, just turn the power back off so it doesn't go flat. Once the X19 is done, which it will be done by the end of today, ready to go back to the MOT on Monday, I will then get this up on the ramp. So I'll swap this with that place. I can finish the fuel lines, I can finish the breather pipes, and I can do the back axle and stuff because it won't take long. I just need to order the brake linings and the brake cylinders and stuff. There's a few other little odds and sods I've looked at that I'd like to improve as I go along. And the one other big job, which again is a ramp job, I don't know if you can see down there, I was doing this earlier and the mic cut off, but that there is a tension link and it should be a compression link. And using my initiative, I turned them round to give more space, but I've decided that I don't like that because my entire life, if this end here where my finger is, here, is all my life's depending on a 3/8 UNF bolt in there. And quite honestly, I don't like it. So I'm going to, you know, if the weight is on all this, it's the 3/8 bolt is just holding it in place. It's not actually becoming a part of the structure. So I'm going to remove that, turn it round and turn it back like it should be. I will have to do something to keep everything in place. I don't know how I'm going to do that yet. I might just make something that bolts to the strut to hold it in position and then turn it all around. But either way, I'll work it out. Once I've done one side, the other side will be easy. Just make some brackets and weld them on the chassis at the back, which means stripping the paint back off. No biggie whatsoever. It sounds a massive job, but it's literally probably about an hour's work. Once I've made the brackets, they'll probably take longer than anything. So yeah, so that's where we're at. I will do a Mega Squirt finale and explain why I've jumped ahead there. I am sorry, but just filming it and editing it and all that, I just don't have the time because I have to get the car done. Basically, the event is in the middle of June, but I want to get some road miles on it before that. So I want to get it up and running by the end of February and on the road and driving. I'm not going to map it myself. I might tweak it a little bit and have a go. But what I think I'll do is I'll get it running and driving, and then I'll ship it off to someone who can tune it, and I'll nip it down to them and they can put me a safe tune on it. I aren't bothered about making 600 horsepower at this stage. If it makes 200, I'll be happy. If it makes 300, 400, I'd be ecstatic. I aren't going to break any land speed records with it. I just want it reliable. I want it safe, and I don't want the engine to explode. It's straight out of a scrap car. I have no idea how good or bad it is inside. It turns over and the crank is good. That's all I know. The plan for next year, once the car is done, is to buy another engine and then build that proper. So start from the ground up, top hat liners, forged pistons, blah, 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 wildcat heads, and so on and so forth. And then once it's all built, swap them over. But I just want to be able to use it, and I don't want it, you know, I'm not, some people tend to pursue horsepower to such an end that it's a huge attrition rate on engines, and I get that completely, I understand. But for me, I just want to keep it reliable and get some miles on it. So it'd be nice just to be able to drive the blooming thing. So I don't think I'm going to be building a trailer. When you do drag weeks, sick week, things like that, all they can do is take a trailer. They can't take a support vehicle. So they can go to the first track with a support vehicle, but then they have to leave that behind. Now, I know on street weekends, somebody can follow you in a support vehicle, but most of my friends who have a support vehicle, I'm going to say support vehicle once more because I just like saying it, are basically doing the event anyway, so they won't be able to follow me. So what will happen is I may take a trailer, but I don't think I'm going to be running a set of slick tyres or anything. I don't think there'll really be any point. I'm just going to drive it down the drag strip and get a 15 or whatever, or 14 down the quarter mile and a 10 or an 11 down the 8th. I'm not really over bothered about breaking any records. Just make sure it all holds together and stays good. If I do think it'll do something decent, I might invest in a set of slicks and another set of wheels for the back end. But then I'd have to build a trailer, I'd have to put a tow bar on it. And quite honestly, those jobs, I will build a tow bar for it if I have time at the end. Otherwise, the tent goes in the back of the car with a handful of tools, a couple of gallon of petrol, and that's it. A torch and a soldering iron. So, yeah, a few fuses. So, yeah, anyway, to draw this to a close, that's the upshot. I'm wittering on again. I do apologise. I am absolutely ecstatic with this year. Assuming nothing goes pear-shaped this year, then I will definitely be there. If it does go pear-shaped, I won't. But either way, I've got to get the car finished, hoping that I will be there. It's going to be a big job. However, I'm feeling fairly motivated at the minute. Only the thing is, I mustn't be motivated on this so that I'm not working on other stuff. So, yeah, we're pretty close. I've ordered a Mk valve for the boost for the wastegate. I've got a new dump valve. I've got all the bits pretty much, apart from hoses and connectors and stuff like that. So we're you know, it's just a matter of getting stuff fitted in now. The big thinking solutions are all out the way. So yeah, quite pleased with that. It's good news. I will be recording Street Weekend all the way through. I'll be doing videos on that as well. I'll also be recording when I get the car started for the first time. I'll also be recording the first few, you know, the street miles and stuff. And if it breaks, I'm going to get a friend to follow me around when I first start with it. But anyway, so wish me luck. If you like what you've seen, please subscribe. Obviously, I do a lot of classic car stuff. I do a lot with the Capri. Once it's actually on the road, there'll be a lot more. And yeah, hope you like it. But yeah, wish me luck. Hopefully, I'm not going to win, but I want to be there.